Should I do Vipassana or Samyama? Which one's better? What are the differences, and so on? So somebody asked this question and I will get to that answer pretty soon. So yeah, if it's your first time here, my name is Sharol. A very warm welcome to you. If you feel like this content is resonating and you want to hear more, click the subscribe button and definitely give the video a thumbs up. And if you have a question, do leave a comment. So I will try my best to get back to you. So yeah, let's get into it. So Lakshmi, this one is for you. So I suppose what I'm going to share is just my experience with both and how it's all unfolded for me. So yeah, here we go. So I started Vipassana in 2014, and in 2014, like I did my first course, did my second one not long after, and then served later that year, and everything changed. It was that was it. Vipassana it changed my life, and I just kept going back for more. And I had a lot of doubt with the practice to begin with. Even when I was serving yet, I would just do the practice. I would just practice, and basically the doubt cleared the more I practiced. And now I have zero doubt that Vipassana will take you to the final goal. Zero whatsoever. It is a complete practice, and the entire teaching is given in the 10-day course. It's all there. Okay, so you just need to do it. My journey with Isha started in 2017. So when I was doing Vipassana, I had a lot of questions. I wanted to know what had happened to me, because I had changed drastically. Yeah, it was huge. So I wanted to understand what was happening, and I was very, very analytical. The nitty-gritty, like I went to a workshop with this guy who's become really famous now, Dr. Joe Dispenza, where you have your brain mapped and which parts of your brain are activated as you're meditating, before, during and after meditation, the coherence of your brain, and so on. So wanting to understand what had happened to me, and I tried lots of other things in that exploration phase, which I guess everyone kind of goes through, and nothing else even came close to Vipassana. Okay, it didn't even compare until Sadhguru came into the picture. And yeah, so I enrolled in the inner engineering program, did that. It used to be run in person. It was a 4-day program, and in that program, they do like a promo of all the other programs, and I just saw this picture of Sadhguru in this program called Samyama, and I was like, I have to go. That was it. So yeah, I was practicing, doing the thing that you're not supposed to do, which was mixing both practices, and I just wanted to go to Samyama. I didn't know why, I just wanted to go. So when I was practicing both, I knew that I should not be mixing Vipassana. I knew that, yet I still did. And I would talk to the Ishangas about, like, is it safe to mix it? Because they tell me not to at Vipassana. And they say it's fine to mix Isha practices, and that may be the case, but it's not fine to mix Vipassana. And this is, in the Goenka tradition. So yeah, worked my way to do Samyama, and did Samyama. Samyama was a pretty special program, and after that program I knew. So I knew that I wanted to do Vipassana, that was better suited to me, and that was the path that I was going to go down. So I did, and I worked my way to a 20-day program. Now, the thing that I did not do was exclusively practice Vipassana for those 2 years before the program. I had mixed practices. So I still kept up the daily practice, kept everything else up, but I mixed. So that's basically, yeah, up until March I was mixing, and after Samyama it was just Vipassana that I was doing. So yeah, after the 20-day program, there is a video about that if you want to go check that out. A couple of months after, actually, I started waking up at 3:30, and like clockwork, the Kriyas would happen. So Shakti Chalana and Shambhavi. And my breath would just almost self-regulate into that pattern. And I didn't quite know what was happening. So yeah, it was almost like, it was still in my system, and it was very much, the Kriyas were very much there. And I'm the type of person, when it comes to practice, I can be a little bit extreme, and I'm learning to find the middle way. So, like even if I'm completely bedridden, my whole body's aching, I will crawl out of bed, roll out a mat, and make practices happen, even if I'm in tears throughout the entire practice. That's not the way to practice. Yeah, it's a bit much, really. So yeah, a Vipassana teacher, told me that I needed to practice in a more relaxed way. And when I was on retreat, and I would be the person that literally took the schedule literally. So I would be on my cushion the entire time that you're meant to be on there, and maybe even a little bit more. Yeah, I was very not working in a relaxed way, and I didn't understand what he meant. I thought, well, I've come on retreat, like I want to make the most out of every moment that's here. Why wouldn't I be here? That's why I've come. Yeah, so that's a bit of context in the way that I would practice. And yeah, after that 20-day, I did a 10-day course in December that year, and all hell broke loose in that course. After that course, yeah, I was all over the place. I couldn't breathe. I would go into a rage for no reason. I would go into tears for no reason. I couldn't really function. When I'd sit to meditate, I'd close my eyes, and the most horrific visions would come up. I didn't know what was happening, and I thought the answer was, oh, these are sankharas, so I should just meditate more. And that's not at all what you should do if that ever happens to you. Yeah, so knowing that, I was out of balance, and I'm a big advocate of traditional medicines. So traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, I think they're pretty special like medicines, right? And so I thought, okay, I know a TCM doctor that I really like, and I went to see her. And they do the pulse diagnosis and whatever else that they do. Had some acupuncture, had a course of herbs. It didn't help. And I thought, okay, well, why don't I go see this Ayurvedic practitioner who is also doing the Isha practices, is an Isha meditator. So at least you'll have some understanding and know what I'm talking about. And gave her a call, and her mentor happened to be in town. And apparently he's this really well-known, like Ayurvedic guy, so Ayurvedic doctor, and there was a cancellation and there was one appointment. So I took it, and I just knew when I went to see him to tell him that I had mixed Vipassana and Kriya. And it never occurred to me before this point, right? Yeah, so I told him, he felt my pulse, and he basically told me that what has happened is, for me anyway, is that in the yogic system they talk about the 5 koshas, or the 5 bodies, and by mixing the practices, especially Vipassana, what happens is the koshas have kind of become like this, so moved out of alignment. So things not just from this life but past lives were also coming up, and it was too much. It really was too much, and that I didn't have the foundation for that. In the past, I would have, before this experience, I would have thought, yeah, that's a great thing, like you're working through karmas from past lives. Isn't that a good thing? Without the necessary foundation, it's incredibly dangerous, and actually you just move in the opposite direction. So he suggested some herbs and some treatments, and I had a newfound respect for Ayurveda after this experience. In 2 weeks, my system settled to a point where I could function again. It took about a year to get back to a normal state myself, whatever you want to call it. It took about a year, and he actually suggested doing the Kriyas and stopping Vipassana, because Vipassana was going too deep and the Kriyas would rebuild my system, because my system was essentially broken, right? So yeah, that's what happened. So I did the Kriyas, did it for a year. It was really hard to give up Vipassana. When you practice Vipassana so much, it just becomes so much a part of you. It's very hard to stop practicing, and experienced meditators would know this. It's very hard to stop practicing, and I had to literally just had to. So I stopped the formal practice, but I would still catch myself practicing throughout the day, and just go, stop. And that happened for years. And after a couple of years, it started to fade, where I was immersed in the Isha practices and I didn't feel like I needed Vipassana anymore, and just throw myself into it. So very active with volunteering. I became a part-time Ishanga, wanted to go full-time, and wanted to go. Basically, I said to Anthony, how would you feel if I became a brahmachari? And he said, I wouldn't stop you, because I'd miss you, but I wouldn't stop you, which is pretty amazing to have that level of support from your spouse, to allow you to do what you want to do, in that sense, where to support you in that, I think. And so that's that's kind of where the direction that I was going in. And earlier this year, because of COVID and whatever else that had happened, finally we got to go to the ashram for an extended time, which is something we've been planning for a while. And initially, for various reasons, it didn't happen. And when we were there, I spent a lot of time in the Dhyanalinga, and Vipassana came back in the Dhyanalinga. And I just thought to myself, no, not again. Because being in that state of confusion is not a good thing. And yeah, it's not a nice place to be in, which is why it's best to not mix either practice. If you're established in one practice, keep going with that practice. And my mind didn't want to believe that it could be that simple with Vipassana. It is, and it's all there. So that's that. So we left the ashram, and after leaving the ashram, there was just this sort of weaning away from the Isha practices, and kind of going, why is Vipassana coming back? And I started doing Anapana for a few months actually, because it's a common practice to both Vipassana and Samyama. So part of Samyama, well, Samyama is the Samyama practice, and the preparation, I guess, would be Anapanasati. So yeah, I was just doing Anapana for a while and very much confused again. And one thing that I'd like to say is that, yeah, this state of confusion, of not knowing, thinking that, like you want to go explore something. Yeah, I feel like whatever you're doing, if I could tell myself back then, knowing what I know now, just stick with what you're doing and that's it. Close the door to any other possibility, basically, which I just found it really hard to do, because Sadhguru is a being like that. It's like, if Gautama the Buddha was alive today, sitting right in front of you, like in the world today, you would, wherever he was, you would just go. It's the same thing with Sadhguru, right? I have no doubt that Sadhguru is the real deal. Like, a lot of people go, oh, is he, and whatever else. In my experience, like, I have zero doubt that he is what he is. He's amazing, more than amazing, and so fast. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and I don't know if this has answered your question or you found this helpful, but yeah, based on the comments that you left on a couple of videos, I felt like it was important to respond to this, and because it's probably a question a lot of people have. I know it's a question that I had. Yeah, so there you go. I hope it helps.